Welcome to the latest Hammer Horror and Order, where the entire point of the series is right there in the title. I'm Josh, and I'm joined here with the Professor Smoke.
What's up?
And we are from the All American Spook Show podcast, which you can get right here on the YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast every Monday at 6 p.m. East. We also encourage you to go check out aaspookshow.com. From there, you can also stick around. You can find our podcast archives there, but you can also stick around here on the YouTube channel. We definitely encourage you to do that and go check out our other series that we have every month. Video Vortex, where we watch straight to video type movies from the 80s and 90s. And then Grindhouse Gutter, where we let the professor select movies, B-movies and stuff that would have played in the grindhouses and drive-ins back in the, say, 60s through the early 80s, right? So that's kind of the theme over there. But, Hammer Horror and Order, we're basically watching the Hammer films releases, in particular, their horrors and their thrillers in the order in which they were released. So we've worked our way up to May of 1964. And this one falls into the thriller category because this is definitely not a horror movie. Matter of fact, this is a first because we haven't done any type of like pirate / swashbuckling type film.
Yeah.
Really at all, but specifically not from Hammer, right? So
No.
the movie that we're talking about here is The Devil Ship Pirates, which, like I said, came out in May of 64. I think it didn't get released in the UK until August of 64. So myself, this is the first time I've watched it. What about you?
Yeah, this is my first time watching it, and I don't ever these Hammer films that I haven't seen before, I don't ever really look into it to see any what it's about or anything. I just kind of go in blind and watch them. But from the title, I was expecting a bit more, maybe something supernatural or diabolical going on. I didn't know that the reference Devil Ship Pirates is a direct reference to the ship. The name of the ship is, they're Spanish pirates, and the name of the ship is the Diablo. So a devil ship, pirates. So there, right off the bat, I was thinking, as it was going along, I'm like, well, okay, that's it. And when they said Diablo, the name of the ship, I'm like, oh, okay, that's the devil ship. It's not like a horror or a cult or a supernatural at all.
No.
So it was a little bit of a disappointment there because I was in my head, I had something a little bit different in mind.
Yeah, and we'll, based on what he just said, we will tell you right now, if you watch this movie, do not expect anything like that. No. Horror, no anything supernatural, nothing like that. This is strictly like just a pirate. I stopped short of saying swashbuckling. I mean, there's a little bit of that going on.
Because it's not really that. It's not full on action adventure. It's more like you said, like a thriller drama with a little bit of action and not so much adventure. Because you think pirates, you also think the high seas. You don't get a whole lot of that either. In fact, you don't get any high seas, and you barely get any shipboard action on the water.
Yeah, I mean, like literally the very beginning of the movie is like a ship battle.
Yeah,
there's a handful of ships shooting cannons at each other, and then the ship takes damage, and then they immediately have to take the ship inland to fix it.
And that's it. That's it. Other than
the rest of the movie, it's just these pirates or these people off the ship in this town, like taking this town over.
Yeah.
Right. And then how we don't give full spoilers here to exactly how this all plays out, but that's a good setup to what's going on here, right?
Yeah. And unfortunately, that shipboard battle in the beginning is not as thrilling as it could be. It's just fine as far as the fight scenes or whatever. But the part that you really notice is that the ship is very calm. I mean, these waters must be super calm that they're on. And you realize that the ship is just moored. Like when they built this ship, I guess it weighed, how much did you say? Like
the thing I read, I think it was like 40 tons. So I'm assuming that this was not actually seaworthy.
Yeah.
And like apparently also too, I read that it couldn't hold up to the weight of actors like being on it and everything. So like the ship took a massive amount of damage and basically just they had to destroy it as soon as they were done making this, which I don't want to give away exactly what happens here, but
yeah.
That needless to say, it's a movie about pirates and ships and everything. That probably plays into the final bit of the movie. Wink, right? So we'll just leave it there. But
true.
And I would assume that's why it played out like that, because they're like, well, we're never going to be able to use this thing again. Because I also read that they wanted to use it for other movies or rent it out to be used in other movies, but it took too much damage. So
like you're saying, I remember doing the research on this, that there was a part where they were, there was only so many people that could or should be on it at any given time, but there was one particular thing they were doing, and I'm trying to remember what exactly it was, that more people were on it than should. Oh, they were having tea, or what? There was having tea, like as British do, or anybody really. Tea's good. I like tea as well, but but there was too many people on board this ship, and the ship it was in water, but it was right by. It was like right by the land, right? It was built on like a steel frame structure under the water that the ship kind of rested on, but apparently there were so many people on it that it capsized, went sideways or whatever, and some people went off into the water. I think Christopher Lee was on deck and he grabbed onto the rail or something, but fortunately nobody was really seriously injured or killed.
And you mentioned Christopher Lee. He's definitely a plus in this movie.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He's Christopher Lee.
Oh,
He's going to do his thing, right? Like, not to say that no one else could have done this part. I mean, it's not an elaborate part, but just that it gives that Christopher Lee touch.
Yeah. Just his style.
He's not a dude you're pulling for in this movie.
No. Yeah. It's one of his bad guy characters, as he's wont to do sometimes, right? Many times.
Yeah, exactly. And he does great in this movie. So I mean, he's definitely the standout. He's the plus.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that the rest of the cast is bad. I mean, because there's a couple of familiar faces in this one that have been in some other movies that we've watched here in the series. It also stars Andrew Keir and John Cairney. They do their thing, but it's just Christopher Lee just, it's a lot like we always say when we're watching these Hammer films and like Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing show up, it just
bumps it up.
Takes it up a notch.
Everybody's fine. It's just that in this particular movie, there's not really a whole lot for them to chew on. The script, I mean, other than Christopher Lee's role, characters aren't really. It's not really a character-driven movie. Let's say they aren't really that animated. The other characters in the movie. I mean, they're not written to be that way.
No. Now, I mean, other than like a couple of like little right-hand men lackeys.
Yeah.
Kind of stand out a little bit. Like character actor type stuff. Like nothing to write home about outside of Christopher Lee in this one. It was directed by Don Sharp, and of course the screenplay was by none other than Jimmy Sangster. So, look, in the Hammer way, and in the fact that it's written by Jimmy Sangster and Christopher Lee's in it, it's going to be solid, and it is. It's a solid flick for what it is. It's just it's kind of forgettable in a lot of ways too. Like there's not much that's going to make you. You just kind of watch this for an hour and a half. So that was fine. That was what it was. Now moving on. It's not something you go out and buy the Blu-ray or watch over and over or anything, right? At least in my opinion.
Yeah. And it's not the kind of movie you'd watch if you're looking for, as we said, like a straight up swashbuckler. I mean, if it's not that, it's not full on action and shipboard other than the beginning intro scene. There's not any other shipboard stuff really. And it's also not your stereotypical pirate type movie either. I mean, they were from the Spanish Navy that kind of go AWOL, right? Go rogue on the ship or whatever. So you're not getting Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like, mate, you're not getting your typical stereotypical pirates. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like Spanish pirates, right? Who I guess have been conscripted or something, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like they were pirates, and now they were part of like the Spanish Armada or something.
Yeah.
And then they lose their battle, and now they've all just decided to go back to piracy, right? That's kind of what's afoot here. It's just. It's fine. It's fine. It's just it's not top notch or anything like that. But it's in the Hammer way.
Oh yeah.
It's made at Brady Studios, so it's quality.
It is.
It looks great. The acting is great. Jimmy Sangster's screenplay is fine. It's just I don't know exactly what it's missing. It's just something that doesn't grip you.
Yeah. It's one of those things where if you're a huge fan of Hammer, then you probably really like this. You've probably already seen it and you probably really like it. But if let's say if you've never seen it and you're kind of a casual Hammer fan, it's not one of those that's going to win you over to watching more Hammer based on this movie.
Yeah. I think we'll see moving forward because, like I said, we're watching these horrors and thrillers in the order in which they were released. So the next movie we'll tell you at the end here. I think we're going to see a little bit more of a shift to horror for a little while after this. In 64 and beyond from Hammer. And we'll talk about what's coming up here shortly. But what we do here on Hammer Horror and Orders, we come together beforehand. We give a consensus rating. So it's 0 through 5 hammers is our scale. And we decided to go with 2 hammers on this one. So as far as like up from what we've watched so far, and this is the 30th edition of Hammer Horror and Order, so 29 previous movies. That puts it kind of on the lower side, but it's just kind of like even the low side on Hammer is pretty good, right?
Oh yeah.
It puts it on par with other movies we've rated on this level as The Phantom of the Opera from '62, Stop Me Before I Kill from 1960, Paranoiac and Maniac from 1963. We gave all those to Hammer. So
yeah, and keep in mind whenever we rate these, we're only rating based on other Hammer. We're not really rating in relation to the other movies on the podcast or anything. Just strictly Hammer.
Yeah, just comparing these movies to the other Hammer movies that we watched to date, and we're trying to, even if there are other Hammer movies that will eventually come on here in the future, I think we all try to keep in mind that like we haven't watched those yet in this series.
Yeah.
So we're not really grading stuff that's coming ahead, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This is strictly based on what we've watched up to this point, the 29 previous movies. So
and if we have, and I don't know if that we have we done Hammer? Yeah, we've done the Abominable Snowman, and maybe we've done one other one outside of Hammer.
The Curse of Frankenstein
on the regular podcast, and those ratings will be reflected against all the other outside, all the other stuff we do on the regular podcast. So they might change. They definitely will change because I think we're 0 through 10, right, on the regular podcast. No, we're still 0 through 5. That's right.
But we're still look at it probably a little differently there than we would, when you're comparing any of these things to Psycho or Reanimator, right?
Yeah.
Any of the wild world of horror that we watch over there versus other Hammer films, you're going to get a slightly different rating.
Yeah. So our ratings might not be the same as, this movie on the Cold Corner might be not.
I think they have been a little different in the two that we've crossed over. So
yeah.
So yeah, there you go. I mean, I think it's worth checking out if you like pirate adventure movies with maybe not a ton of adventure, but some decent action in spots. But if you like, that period, early to mid '60s pirate type movies, it's probably worth checking out at least once. And it's got Christopher Lee in it. So
yeah, definitely. So if you're a huge fan of Christopher Lee and you haven't seen this one, then you'll definitely get some enjoyment out of it for sure.
Yeah, there you go. So we'll leave it there for this month. Next month, like I said, I think we're looking up, at least for a little while here, coming up, because we've got to run, I think, over the next 4 or 5 months of horror flicks from Hammer. And the next one we're going to be watching, it's right there still in the month of May in 1964, but it's a slightly bigger release, The Evil of Frankenstein. So I'm looking forward to that. It's been a while since we've had just a pure monster horror.
Yeah. And I think that's the second Frankenstein movie from Hammer, right? I believe.
Well, we watched The Curse of Frankenstein. That was way back.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been another one.
I don't think there's been.
There was The Revenge.
Oh, The Revenge. Okay, yeah, that's right. This is the third. The third.
Yep. Because we've watched a couple of Draculas too. So
yeah,
this will be the third in the Hammer lineage of Frankenstein. Although it'll be interesting to see how these tie in, and we'll find out next month, and you'll find out with us. So
yep.
If you want to get ahead of it, go ahead and go find a copy of The Evil of Frankenstein from 1964 and watch it, and then come back next month while we talk about it. So that is it. Like we said off the top, go stick around here on the channel, of course, and watch all of our other stuff. But go over to aaspookshow.com to find all the latest about what's going on in the world of the Spook Show. So we will talk to you next month.
See you later.